Good evening, everyone. This is the Commissioners Finance Meeting, weekly finance meeting. This is February the 15th. When an hour 1:30 has arrived, we start the meeting with public comment. None. Okay. Great. All right, that brings us to item 3, which is the approval of minutes from February 8th.
Move to approve the minutes from February 8th.
Second.
I want to note that I'm going to be voting no on the minutes. I believe the summary is incomplete and misleading of a very complex issue. So we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Me. All right, that brings us to item 4. We have the incredible Kirk Stoner is waiting for us. So it's our planning director. And I guess you're going to talk to us first. I don't know if the solicitor's planning to be up here or not. He's listed on here, but at this point, I think Kirk knows the ins and outs of the issue. So Kirk, floor is yours.
Sure. Commissioners, as you're aware, we're working with UGI Energy Services. They're interested in an easement across our property off of Army Heritage Drive to access a property just north of there, where they're proposing to construct a liquefied natural gas plant. They recently received approval from the Middlesex Township Zoning Hearing Board, and they're looking back to us to potentially approve an easement agreement with them to move forward with construction of the access road across our property. So I've been working with UGI over the past several months to talk about the project, get drawings of the project. Recently had an appraisal done of our property showing the value and impact of their proposal. We also have HRG, the county engineer, looking at their engineering plans and providing feedback to them on those plans to make sure that the property is developed in the best interest of the county and our taxpayers. That's where we stand now. We're looking at approval from the board for Keith and I to continue negotiations with them as we talk about actual payments to us for the cost of the easement and potentially moving forward with the access road across our property so they can start their project.
You have any questions on the issue?
Kirk, I have one question for you. If the county does not enter into an easement agreement with UGI so that they can access an adjoining property, what will happen?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question, Gene. So we're working right now with UGI Energy Services, which is a one-off from UGI, the utility. UGI Energy Services has told us that the project that they're working on has been approved by the Public Utility Commission, and that they, through the utility, the actual utility, could condemn our property for the easement if we choose not to agree to it. Whether or not they would actually exercise that power remains to be seen, but they have told us that they have that power if they needed to use it.
And I just, my personal thought on a condemnation is that it may not work out in our favor. It sounds like a bit of an adversarial situation. Do you have any opinion on that, Kirk?
Well, I'm not the solicitor, but I have gone through some of the condemnations I've been part of through the bridge program. When we have a condemnation of public land, there's a very prescriptive process that's followed where value and determination is made. And sometimes when it goes into that process, the opportunity for negotiation goes away. And I believe that's what UGI Energy Services for UGI is trying to do here is try and negotiate an amicable agreement with us up front to avoid the condemnation so that it may work out as a win-win. For this property that they are looking at, as the board's aware, we do have some great challenges to get to our property. We've had some proposals in the past to look at that property for potential types of development. If the access road is completed and constructed, it does provide a benefit to our property because then the access issue of actually getting from a higher grade to a lower grade through that road and an initial access road to our property is built and maintained by another entity other than Cumberland County or the group that may end up purchasing and developing our property at some point in the future.
So when I think about this project as it's been presented, it seems to me that this is a win for Cumberland County taxpayers.
Yes, and I think access to that piece of property for sure, to make it a more attractive development proposal in the future. It also brings electric utilities and water utilities to the site so that they're there in case of a future development. Will that be for us, for a county or if we were to sell at some point in the future to another type of development, some of those utilities would already be in place.
Thank you.
Gene, one other follow-up on that too. You were
Yeah.
talking about Cumberland County taxpayers too. I believe this project too, when you look at it from a natural gas perspective, the LNG, when it's put into the tank, there, as we've been told throughout the process, that they need the tank and the additional storage to supply gas users in Cumberland County. So when we look at our infrastructure in the county for growth, even for our residential homes, it's something that's needed. Obviously, it's not popular sometimes when you have some of these larger projects, but they do have to go somewhere. And our residents do benefit from the gas service that UGI could bring through this project.
Thank you, Kirk.
Kirk, I think I asked this before, but are there any reporting requirements to the county on activity there or usage?
For us back to UGI, Gary?
No, for them to us, so we know what's going on there.
Right.
Since there's potential safety issues and such.
Sure. I don't believe we have that in the agreement as it stands now. I mean, they provide us a draft agreement. We haven't signed off on that yet. So if that's something that's important to the county, we can include that.
I remember it being discussed before. I don't know, maybe I can address that. I just on that, but that's fine.
And so, Kirk, we're still in the negotiation stage.
Yes. Yeah, very much
Yes.
so. Yes. We haven't signed anything yet. We're still negotiating the entire agreement.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to authorize Kirk Stoner, Planning Director, and if necessary, Keith Brenneman, County Solicitor, to negotiate with UGI for compensation for an access road on county property.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stoner. Good luck. All right, that moves us to number 5, other business.
Yes, Chairman, I have a piece of other business that I would like to bring to the Board of Commissioners.
That would normally happen under public comment, but Keith's not here. I'm not sure. Other business is generally for commissioners to bring things forward. But
I'm fine with hearing
that's
this,
fine. Yeah.
whatever you have.
I just recently became aware of a summary of the nursing home proceeds that was shared publicly. And I have concerns related to the accuracy of some of the information. So I have concerns about what I read in the summary. So first, I guess I would ask you all if this is an accurate accounting from what has been tracked for on behalf of the nursing home. And if it had been shared with the public previously, I had not seen it. But is to the best of your knowledge an accurate summary of the expenses and
This information came directly from the finance office.
I did not get it from the finance office. I got it through a public political piece that had been shared. So I did not know where it originated.
Right. The only change that was made to it from what Dana got is she gave me guidance on the footnotes to explain in layman's language. Other than that, it's exact.
That, sir, is why I have an issue. So on item number 4, it says the amount to cover operating losses during 2021 and 2022 also includes management fees. I don't know what portion of that, the 4 isn't noted, but I'm assuming that that corresponds to the 3.384 million that is operational costs. If I understand correctly, using proceeds from the sale of a capital asset more than $50,000 would be a violation of the county's own capital policy. Under the I had included a page of the capital policy and highlighted it's under the long-term planning. where the second paragraph states, when the project includes the sale of current county assets of more than $50,000, the proceeds from the sale are considered one-time monies and will not be used to offset county operating expenditures. The proceeds will fund a current capital project, or the proceeds will be designated in fund balance for future capital needs. As I've stated from the beginning, I'm deeply concerned about retaining as much as absolutely possible in a protected fund that is controlled by the commissioners for a useful potential capital purpose in the future. I have been supportive of the efforts of establishing the semi-endowment type of relationship with this money. And I thank you all for unanimously appointing me to that exploratory board. But that was to consider utilizing a portion of the interest that was generated and not the proceeds. So my concern over this is that language that it would be paying back operating losses that our policy does not seem to allow for. And my experience in business is simply that when you liquidate assets, it is generally under duress. So I do not know if this is in the long-term planning policy so that investors have a confidence that we don't adhere to that practice.
We're out of nursing homes, by the way. We can't sell anymore. So
Yeah, the county has other assets that can be sold.
that does. I guess the only question I have is, so what you're saying is the operating costs, the losses from those 2 years should come out of county property tax.
Absolutely not, Gary. It's my understanding that we accepted the 50 million in ARPA funding under the terms of revenue replacement. And if I recall correctly, the ARPA rules specifically allowed for nursing homes. So I am saying that instead of paying back losses that have already been accounted for, that money, if there is any loss that needs to be subsidized, should come from the ARPA funds, not taxes. My concern is that should this money be just frittered away, as it's seeming to do, somewhere lost in a budget, recovering costs that have already been accounted for.
Now
You don't-
I'll just make one observation, that the process of the ARPA allocations has spread out over many months. But I've not heard of this proposal advanced at any time during that. Maybe I just wasn't in the loop.
No.
There were a lot of things here. that I was
No,
not-
Gary, that's not accurate. I was not aware of this allocation of the funds from the nursing home and that explanation to it. So the ARPA funding process that was put in place, I don't know, 18 months ago. I mean, there have been multiple meetings on that. At no point was there a talk of subsidizing nursing home losses, because there was no settlement of the nursing home proceeds that I'm aware of until this document was released recently.
I'm just gonna, I guess, offer a couple of comments. I have no idea about the accuracy of this. I didn't write it. I don't know who wrote it. Right off the top of my head, when I look at, I guess it's footnote 5, credit for construction costs related to meeting new fire safety standard. If that's what I think it is, it's not a new fire safety standard. It was an old fire safety standard. So, I mean, just based on that, I have that I can see as an inaccuracy, but there's something here that's kind of amusing. I don't know who Vince D. Philippou and this Jean FOSCI are, but they're not members of this board. But I do know that unanimously, the members of the Board of Commissioners voted for every member of the benevolence fund. So I would call this another inaccuracy, but I have no idea, Kelly, but I think, I don't know. It certainly is not an official publication of the county.
Presented that way.
Was,
This number
was
was
this-
presented to all the commissioners again last week.
was
When
this,
last week?
It was emailed, everybody got it.
but it was this shared publicly outside of this document by the Board of Commissioners? Was that information shared?
Shared publicly?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Stacy's one.
There were several public meetings. I would have to look at the dates where there were allocations made. I don't recall the dates. I believe one of them was in October, where Dana came to a workshop. She made a presentation, and then the vote was at the BOC
She did make
meeting.
that presentation.
I was aware, I'm sorry, Susie, I was aware of the employee retirement. I think it was taken in pieces.
Yes,
So
Yes,
there were
that-
pieces
yes.
that may have been allocated, but a public summary, or if it had, I'm simply saying I had not seen it. And I had not seen that which I don't believe that it was until this document, but I have strong concerns related to item number 4 as it relates to being a violation of an existing county policy.
Let Keith look at that and see. I would be amazed if he would not have considered that already, but obviously he's the authority.
Stacy, has this in this format gone out to the public? And I believe I remember saying, and I think it was that October meeting, but I can't remember which meeting I said it at, where I mentioned to Dana that this kind of thing really and truly needed to go out to the public, and there needed to be a really excellent accounting of what had happened to the nursing home. So
I don't believe it went out in this format.
Okay.
I know that Samantha worked with that information to put that out in a press release. Dave and I began working on a document that was shared with the 3 of you last week in anticipation of the exploratory committee meeting to provide that.
That's what it was for. in
Yes, to provide it, to
anticipation.
make sure that, because it was at, I believe, 3 different public meetings
Okay.
that these were brought forward, and we wanted to have it in one document.
Thank you.
To make it more
Thanks.
clear.
But that was the intent, it was for the exploratory. Okay, oh, there's Dana, hi Dana.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been sitting here listening and I'm not sure which documents in front of you. But when we put this document together, it was for, like Stacy said, the exploratory committee. And it was to give an account of the 22.25 million sale price. And then how we got down to the committed fund balance. The gain from the sale is $11,308,000. And so that technically is what applies to the county policy. And we made a one-time contribution to the retirement account of $4,150,000. And I don't think that goes against our policy because that was a one-time commitment and not offsetting operating expenses.
Dana, just for your knowledge, this is the document I called you about on, I guess, Friday. Wanting to confirm the numbers were.
Well, but
accurate in the
everybody's saying that-
descriptions.
I'm sorry.
I know you haven't seen it. It's not an official. It's an
But
explanation.
everybody's saying number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I didn't have numbers on my document, so.
Is this a case
No.
where where a county employee was used to create a piece of political literature? Because it sure sounds that way. Because Dana, I know
It's
you
an
said you
accounting-
don't know what this is.
It's an accounting of a
This
public
is to the
document.
Cumberland County Republican Committee members from
Mhm.
Cumberland County Commissioner Gary Eichelberger.
That's right, yeah.
And it's an accounting that, I mean, you've heard me on the record now state my concern, at least with one of the footnotes, but were you used to create this document?
Stacy and I created this document before the first exploratory committee meeting to show the committee members how we go from 22.5 million and what the expenses were used for to be fully to show everything.
Dana, I was at that meeting though, and it wasn't shared with
Well,
me.
we actually did not have time to share it because it went long, but we did talk about the committed general fund balance, and our intention was to then show it at the meeting that's coming up on Tuesday.
Thank you. And I appreciate the summary. This is something that and Jean, I remember being at that meeting. I can't recall when it was, saying that the public would like to see an accurate summary of this. So I appreciate that information. I have just questions related to that one item, and that is all I am bringing to the attention of this board, because there are serious questions about the accuracy of many of the statements. I also had concerns about the accuracy of the numbers that were presented.
Joe, Kelly, you are or are not claiming, it says in this letter, there is $15 million missing in another.
No, I have claimed that we sold it for 22. To the best of what we've been told, it was $7 million. But it has not been transparent as to what has happened to get from 22 to 7. So, and I am not also proposing, nor have I at any time ever proposed that this money be given away, other than it be secured in a fund controlled by the Board of Commissioners. And until an appropriate project that can be identified, a portion of the interest earnings could be used potentially if these groups suggest to support services across the county. That's it.
I got another question. This is quite comical. It says here, me, Ms. Bell, and Jean Foschi voting in lockstep yet again. Placed her on the committee as a political favor. What was it, political favor?
Vince, I have,
The vote was unanimous to put you and 10, 11 other people on the committee.
there are quite a number of them, and they're all very,
People who believe this bullshit is just, it's disgusting.
Well, not everybody sees the world through the same lens that you have, so I will say, that
I
I
see
think
the world through truth, not through.
Well, the
Crap.
problem with putting out numbers that we can't determine if they're accurate or not
they're
is
in the
that
documents you received.
this puts the county in jeopardy if these numbers have been played with, toyed with, or there's incorrect footnotes.
We'll look
This
at-
puts the county in jeopardy.
I think I'm not aware of that.
Then
We're
we
not
did
gonna
it on
doctor
purpose,
this.
I
We're not-
guess.
we're not-
I don't
They're not
know.
doctored. You can look at the facts of the facts. You can sit here and spin it however you want.
Not
These are
very
the
good.
facts.
those facts are not.
Wow, this is not good.
This was a response because 3 people who were at a meeting on Wednesday told me that you said that this money was missing.
I said it was
Yeah.
not accounted for, and
Both
it was
terms.
not transparent. This is transparent, and so I deeply appreciate if this is the format and if these numbers are accurate. That's simply what I'm trying to determine. And so if you all can enlighten me with that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Basically, moving from this to Keith. From this to Keith. Rory says hi.
This needs to become part of the record of this meeting, of the minutes of this meeting.
It's not a political document. So, you know, the fact you disagree with it doesn't make it inaccurate.
Well, I know it's inaccurate. When I go to number 5, credit for construction costs related to meeting new fire safety standard.
We
It
were-
was not a new fire safety
We were
standard.
grandfathered.
It
in.
was an
New-
old fire safety standard.
New owner.
And for the longest
Discovery.
time, for 5 years, the Board of Commissioners for 5 years would not address that waiver. So it's not new. It was old. It's misleading.
Your comments, so I'll leave it at that.
It is very misleading. This is not a good representation of what happened with the nursing home.
Okay. That's item 5. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Adjourned.